Okay, here's the final Cactus run of the marathon, I promise. This will be the third one I do, but also one of a very different mode. We're going to do some Infinity Drive, and once we get into it, I'll start explaining the mechanics of it. So let's go ahead and start with Shiitake.
Okay.
Just kidding. We're not doing Shiitake. That would be a very poor choice on my part. I'm not tired enough to make that poor of a choice. So let's go with Cactus. So Infinity Drive is not necessarily marathon safe, and by that I mean it is completely marathon unsafe. However, with the recent balance patch that was released a few months ago, it's quite a bit easier. And that's because almost all of the characters, except for two, got a massive increase of power. And the only two that didn't are Shiitake, the one I kind of joke picked there, and Starch, the one I was playing during the 4-player portion of this game. So Infinity Drive, the goal is not simply to get to the end of a bunch of discrete levels. As you'll see, we are just in a circular arena, and it kind of morphs around like some of the campaign run levels do. And that little circular inset right here will probably be a good indicator of what's to come in later layers. But our goal is to get to layer 50. And the way we do that is just by playing well. And, well, it's going to be a bit of a question as to how well we can play to get to layer 50. I'm not 100% confident in our ability to get to layer 50 tonight, but it'll be a good show anyways. So I know I kind of tried to cover most of the basic mechanics during the 2 previous runs before, but we'll go over some of them anyways. Primary weapon, secondary weapon swap. You're invincible when you swap. You gather weapon energy, those little white bits that are floating around after you destroy the robots. And you get the standard battery pop mechanic after so much. We'll have to go into more detail on that a little bit later because it's a bit more critical for Infinity Drive. Now, whenever I do an Infinity Drive run, I always like to do this little metagame to guess the layer of my first down here. And since we're already 4 layers in, and that gives us a little bit of an advantage here. But, pop those numbers in chat. What layer do you think I'm going to take the first down on? So, I'm always kind of amused to see what people guess.
Roncley says layer 31, and
wow.
then updates that to 15 later, so...
15. 31 is a strong guess. A very generous guess. 15 is more typical, but I can't be mad about either of those, so...
oh, CJ says 15.
Yeah, of course CJ would say 15.
I am Greaser says 12.
12.
Roncley's sticking with 31.
31, okay. 12, 15, and 31.
Kenny says 23.
23, ooh. Alright, we've got some pretty aggressive guesses there. I like that. I'll do my best.
Kenny's voting method comes from the number of Twitch viewers we have presently.
Oh,
so.
Nice. All right. You know, that's fair. That's a fair way to do it.
I'm going to go ahead and say 17 because it's a prime number. So.
Ooh, 17. Okay, that's a pretty good guess, too. Now, I completely forget what's on each layer, so we'll see what happens with this. This is kind of the first really kind of silly layer. We kind of blazed through that mine phase, which is good, because that's usually where I take my first very silly down. So I'm glad for that. However, the next layer, layer 6, will also be very silly. So these layers are kind of unique in Infinity Drive in so much as you see the layer text down below. It's currently in red. There are actually 3 different forms of every layer. A blue, a green, and a red. And you start off at the kind of the blue path, and then you advance to green and then to red. And the only way you can do that is by starting and maintaining chain through each wave of enemies. So anytime I break my chain, I will immediately be shoved back to the blue path, and then have to kind of claw my way back to red by getting chain and keeping chain again. And that also applies if I take it down. I'll immediately go back to blue. Now that's important in Infinity Drive because the blue layer... Ooh, geez, that was scary. The blue layer, or the blue layer path... Oh my goodness! There's a layer 6, a good layer 6 down, so... Whoops. So now I'm back to the blue path, just by way of practical demonstration. It's not really important until we get to about layer 28, 29, 30, somewhere in that area, so I can play pretty fast and loose until we get that far. But the reason it's important to kind of stay on the high level layers, the high path layers rather, the red path, is because there are actually more enemy spawns on the red path. And the more enemy spawns there are, the more robot kills you get, and the more batteries that drop. And battery will be very, 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 very scarce when we get to the later layers.
Battery up. Firepower.
But, like I said before, until we get to about the low 30s, we really don't have to worry too much about it. So I'm free to just kind of flap my gums a little bit and explain some of the other things.
Battery here. I'm rocking.
So the battery spawn mechanics themselves are actually based on the amount of weapon energy that drops from each enemy. And those requirements change from layer to layer. It starts off pretty low, so we'll see a lot of battery drops in these low tier layers. But as the layers increase, so too do the battery requirements. There's also something called a loner battery, or what we in the community call loner battery. I'm not sure if there's an official name for it or whatever. But if you get super low on battery, it'll jump you forward in the amount of weapon energy and the amount of bolts you need for the next battery. But then it won't decrease the amount you need for the next battery. So you kind of get it on loan, but you have to fight your way back to get the next battery. So that can be real dangerous in the later layers, especially if you go deep into debt with the battery. So the reason I picked Cactus for Infinity Drive is that she's pretty good all around. Her assault rifle, when fully powered up, does really solid damage. It doesn't have any damage fall off over distance. You can get a pretty good solid hit on these big boys, especially when you're aiming across the level. And her flamethrowers just absolutely deadly up close. Will melt the biggest stuff, will take care of the bosses, no sweat. And it's generally a good choice when you're panicking for, when you're trying to scrap for a battery. Some of the other characters, Aubergine is an okay choice. Lemon's a pretty good choice. Holly's actually a pretty solid choice for Infinity Drive as well. Coral I'm not too fond of for this particular sort of run. Licorice is a very difficult choice, but also very fun to do in this sort of setting. Who am I forgetting? Starch is a pretty easy going thing, easy comparatively, I should say. Because Infinity Drive is no walk in the park. And we'll certainly see that as the layers start ticking up here. I also like to kind of keep track of my chain up at the top there and see how high we can get it. I think my personal record is somewhere around 4,500. Oh my goodness. Big beefy boy gets me just as I'm talking about a good chain. So we'll see what we get. We've still got plenty of time to recover a pretty solid one before we start taking silly downs, or sillier downs, or less silly downs, I suppose, and just generally losing chain because of some obnoxious reasons. Oh, wow, yeah, there we go. Oh, that's right, I'm doing the whole $5 per down thing, so I believe that's down number 3. So not a real great start, but hey, whatever. Well, they are really getting solid with their aim. Or I'm just very poor in my reactions. Probably both. But there's more to Infinity Drive than just these kind of standard arena layers. We will also be doing a boss rush of sorts every certain number of layers. You saw on layer 7 we fought Embryo. In about 5 more layers we'll be fighting Vespula. And then in about 7 or 8 layers thereafter, I can never remember the exact number, we'll be fighting Justice. Sadly or not sadly, depending on your perspective, we will never be fighting Venom again, thankfully. But, if we get to layer 32 with having met certain conditions on the way, we might see a very special reprise of a certain Eggy Boy boss. But until then, we just kind of enjoy the flow a little bit. Still kind of nice and slow, nice and easy. No real problems except for those 3 silly downs we took. But that's okay. That's in the past.
So someone pointed out that your first 2 downs were on layer 6 and layer 9. And
Nice.
Plant Sky did guess layer 69, so we're going to give the honorary win to Plant Sky.
All right, fair enough. That's fair. I can find no fault in that logic.
Battery up. Firepower extended.
So one of kind of the overarching strats to Infinity Drive is to use something called power-up storage. So you may recall me talking about in the previous runs. I'm going to not talk for a bit while we get out of this kind of jam here. All right, that's better. That there can only be 3 power-ups on the field. However, whenever you destroy enough robots to get another power-up, it doesn't skip it necessarily. It just kind of stores it up for you, so that when you remove a power-up from the field by getting it, you'll see another one almost immediately come into play. And you can do this for as long as you don't get power-ups that are still on the field. So I tend not to do that. I mean, the kind of the easy-ish, well, less difficult way to do this, and those mines are being kind of problematic, the less difficult way to do this is to do power-up storage and not pick up any power-ups at all for as long as you can. However, that takes a great deal of patience, and I'm not a very patient person, so we're not going to do that. I'll do something called a modified power-up storage strat. Well, I'll pretty much always have firepower on, maybe pick up an accelerate or an odd shutdown or two when things are getting a little hairy. That way, when we do reach kind of the back-end layers, layer 30 plus, we can start kind of dipping into our power-up storage and always have a shutdown handy, always have an accelerate handy, and always pretty much be fully powered without worrying too much about what happens. This will be really important to have at least a few in reserve if and when we get to layer 40, because that's when the final gauntlet begins.
So there's a good time to read a donation. We got one.
Okay.
All right, we got $6 from Ron Clee saying, well, I didn't expect this donation to be this low, but the way you're playing, you'll make up for it with the number of downs.
Gee, thanks. Okay, so you see we had a silly chain drop there because there was a dude just all the way over on the other side. Well, you know, the low donation amount, you just got to make up for it with more donations. You can do multiples of 6 if you'd like. I won't hold it against you. So another little caveat of the battery is that as long as there's a battery on the field, kind of the count that goes towards the next battery drop is halved. So you're really encouraged to pick up a battery as soon as you can, so that the count towards the next battery is going at full speed. That gets really problematic in later layers, especially, oh my goodness, good AI. Especially when things are moving around on that conveyor belt, and you can't get to the battery nearly as fast as you'd like to.
Firepower extended. Battery up.
Well, that's a spicy edge camp right there. Alright, so it must be layer 15. Hello, Vespi.
Seems like I must take care of matters personally. Battery over here.
And the battery counts for bosses are unchanged. They're not affected by batteries on the field or the number of volts you pick up. You'll always get batteries at the boss phase breaks. It's kind of what makes the bosses a little bit of a recharge zone. Assuming you can go through them quickly enough.
Protect me.
Which we're doing okay with Vespi here, but I probably just jinxed myself. So get ready for that Vespi melee.
Battery here.
I will permit you no further.
Whoa, almost beat that vine pretty good. So at its heart, this mode is really kind of the best of both worlds, both the best of speed and score. Since score is really improved by going fast, keeping chain, getting score surges,
I'm on fire.
and generally keeping things moving forward, and also speed. Going faster means you get more batteries means you survive longer, get more points, etc. Feed back into each other.
I'm unstoppable. Accelerate. Firepower extended. Firepower extended.
Oh, that was a little dangerous. But that's okay. We can afford a little danger still. Still at a pretty low layer. If ever there was a time to listen to more of the great soundtrack hits in Infinity Drive as well, it cycles through pretty much the entire OST as you go through.
Firepower extended.
And it's timed out as such that by the time you get to the final layers, you're dealing with the tutorial music, which is totally out of character for what you're doing at that stage in the run. Lost a chain right there for silly reasons again.
Maybe they're trying to tell you by that point you should be good enough that it feels like a tutorial.
True. That's very true. Haven't reached that point yet myself. Oh, those lines get a little grabby.
Firepower extended. Accelerate. Battery here. Firepower extended. I'm on fire. Battery over here. Firepower extended. Shutdown. Battery
I'll just get that shut down because it was in my way. I didn't really need it.
Firepower extended. Battery up. Firepower extended.
We have another donation when is a good time.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, we have $60 from EI saying 20 missing stars, $60, and a whole lot of hijinks from the Puyo Teto characters. Sounds like a good evening to me.
Firepower extended.
Nice.
Thanks for that. Thanks again, EI, for that entertaining run.
Battery over here. Firepower extended. Firepower extended. Accelerate. Firepower extended.
So less so in a normal campaign speedrun, but in Infinity Drive, you really learn to kind of pick and choose your targets. Much more for survival than anything else. So if you see some of those big factories floating in, usually you treat those as a bigger threat than, say, some of these trash mob kegs. However, when it really gets down to it and you're desperate for a battery, sometimes you just gotta nuke the thing that's closest to you and hope for the best.
Firepower extended. Battery here.
Some weapons swap, dodge, and dance in there.
Firepower extended. Battery over here.
Oh, being caught on this outer ring is no good. Let's get out there. Let's get out of there, please. Thank you.
Battery up. Firepower extended. Bring 'em on. Firepower extended. Battery over here. Accelerate.
Alright, we're gonna grab that for safety. I didn't like how that was shaping up.
Power extended. Battery up. Firepower extended. No stopping me now. Battery over here. Accelerate. Firepower extended. Battery up.
Typically, when you're doing the power-up storage, you want to keep the power-ups off the very center ring and off this kind of middle ring, because those are most likely to change when the layer changes, and then you kind of lose them forever.
Firepower.
But sometimes when you're building up power-up storage, you really don't have much of a choice as to where they kind of appear. It's just whatever poor robot soul you happen to nuke. That mine took a very odd bounce.
No stopping me now. Battery over here. I'm rocking firepower. Firepower extended. Battery here. Firepower extended.
That was a bit of spicy movement there. We're going to try to not do that very much.
Firepower extended.
Now we're looking good. Got a nice casual 1000 chain going. Everything's looking good.
Battery up.
And of course I would say that right as a layer with the conveyor belt starts up.
Power extended.
So that's probably not going to last too long. Yeah! Commentator cursing myself.
Firepower.
Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Battery over here.
Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do.
No stopping me now. Firepower extended.
Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do.
Battery up.
Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh, shoot. Oh, I have not been keeping track of my downs. Is that 5 or 6? I think that's 5.
5 sounds right, but I honestly haven't been.
And where is the battery here? Excuse me? I could use a battery, please? That is very odd. Did I miss a battery? I must have missed a battery. That's right. Okay, now that's 6 or 7. I'm sure somebody will tell me.
Accelerate extended.
Ron Clee says they'll tell you at the end.
Okay. That's cool. Alright, so we are actually in pretty serious battery trouble already, and it's only layer 22. Unfortunate, but we can still come back from it.
Accelerate extended.
We just need to stop playing in a very silly manner.
Battery here.
Alright, that's better. We're out of critical, which is good. There is some sort of amount adjustment you get from each battery depending on whether or not you're in critical. I'm not quite sure of the amounts myself. Some other folks in the speedrunning community for Cactus can certainly tell you that. They're more into the numbers than I am. So this is layer 22. Hello, Justice. We're good for a battery recharge here.
Establishing defense perimeter. Power compromised. Activate all units.
Firepower extended. Battery over here.
Yeah, now we're back to full battery, which is really nice and handy. This will unfortunately be the last easy battery refill we get. And then we'll have one more chance. Oh, we even got the surge there. Amazing. Alright, I'm feeling a little bit better about this now. Oh, not when the doggos started grabbing though.
Accelerate extended.
Because even when I try to go for the surge on Justice for extra points, I typically don't get it. So getting it kind of accidentally is a good sign.
Firepower extended. Battery over here.
Alright, about now is the time where I try to keep maintaining accelerate just in case something dicey starts going on, like most mine phases.
Battery up. I'm on fire. Firepower extended. Firepower extended. Accelerate. Battery over here. Firepower extended.
Usually the big blue boys are top priority targets.
Power extended.
They tend to do some, not necessarily unexpected things, but very dangerous things. They have a tendency to push other enemies towards you. So I've definitely had several times where I've gotten a mine jumped straight into my face by those dudes. It's not a pleasant time.
Battery up. Accelerate. Firepower. I'm on fire. Battery here. Accelerate. Firepower. Firepower extended. Battery up. Firepower extended. Firepower extended. Battery here. This is what I do. Firepower extended. Accelerate. Battery over here. Firepower extended.
Alright, we're at layer 25, about halfway through. Even though the second half will be quite a bit shorter than the first half. Oh, and I'm gonna lose my chain there because I was kind of taking my time behind that wall. That was real dangerous.
Battery out. Accelerate.
Whoa, there's another one. Sneaky mine amongst that cluster of dudes. Blue doggos, I tell ya. Oh, alright, well here's what's affectionately known as Casino Lair, I think. Unless that's 28. I don't know. I don't name these things.
Firepower extended.
Battery takes a ride, as it always does.
Weapon maximum. Battery over here. Firepower extended. Accelerate. Shutdown.
So before we get to layer 31, because that will be kind of the determining factor of how the rest of this run is going to go, kind of explain the prerequisites for unlocking the special, quote-unquote special event on layer 32, because by the time we get to 31, I'll need to focus on actually doing it. So, there is a certain wave on layer 31 that as long as you hold chain from that wave onward, you will trigger a special boss fight. And that boss fight is essentially a much harder, much more difficult to kill version of Embryo. Oops. There's another down. And if you don't hold chain from that portion of layer 31 onwards, you do not get that boss fight. And that's the last boss fight in the entire Infinity Drive run. So that's the last opportunity for a battery refill. Jeez, this is not going great. This is a lot of mines and a lot of bullets, and a down was pretty much expected there. Alright, we're gonna grab a shutdown and clean up this place. It's not good.
Weapon max.
Alright, layer 27 is starting to get a little serious, so I'm gonna flat my gums a little less, let the music play out. Any more donations come in or whatever, you can just read them whenever.
Alright, will do.
This is what I do. Firepower extended. Battery here. Accelerate.
So, I am Greaser in chat says, you've been playing for 27 minutes now. At this point in your Infinity Drive, you should have consumed 750 milliliters, 0.75 liters of water.
Alright, good to know. I'll note that down for future runs. And also, I do not have a half a second to take a drink. Because I've tried it, and it doesn't end well.
You just need a straw or something.
That's
like,
true. I need one of those foam dome things.
Or
where
a
you put all the
Camelback?
cheese. This isn't good. Yeah.
Battery here.
Being on that edge is not great, especially for layer 28.
Accelerate. Weapon maximum. Battery up. Firepower extended. Accelerate.
Oh, I'm surprised I didn't lose chain there. It kind of almost disappeared.
Accelerate extended.
So once we hit 30 plus, chain management is going to be much more important.
Firepower.
Because losing chain means dropping back down to the blue path, which means less enemies, which means less opportunity for getting a battery. Which 30 plus is pretty much a death sentence for the run.
Firepower extended.
But I have had some pretty wild comebacks before. I'm not going to claim anything until it actually happens.
Battery over here. Firepower extended. I'm rocking. Battery up. Firepower. Battery here.
I really want to get that turret out of there. Thank you.
I'm on fire. Battery shut down. Firepower. Bring 'em on.
Typically, I'll try to leave some of the red turrets alive just for them to give me a little extra boost, but the further we go, the dicier that sort of proposition becomes.
Battery here. Accelerate. Firepower. Battery up. Shut down. Battery
So,
here.
being the enchantress of numbers here, I've been thinking a lot about numbers and this game mode being called Infinity Drive. If infinity is such a good number, why didn't they make Infinity 2?
That's a very good question. I mean, infinity is such a good number, it doesn't deserve a sequel. I mean, no sequel could possibly live up to infinity, right?
I don't know.
Accelerate.
Tormod says that's why we're seeking infinity.
Nice. Great call out.
Firepower. Battery up. Firepower extended.
Oh, nice rocket. What a great placement.
Accelerate.
Also, I guess if they were going to make a sequel to Infinity Drive, would they call it Infinity +1 Drive?
Oh boy. Oh, alright, so we're hitting battery critical a little bit here. On layer 30, not that bad. It's because we're almost always going to be in critical battery.
Battery over here.
Kenny says Infinity plus OneDrive presented by Microsoft.
Is that their new file progress implementation? Infinity time left.
Shut down. This is what I do. Accelerate extended.
But it only says that after it says that there's 4 seconds left.
That's true. That's true. Oh, wow. What a can burst that was. Hero Minds, one and all. Alright, I'm gonna have to make a dive in for that. That was very dangerous.
Accelerate extended. I'm rocking. Battery up.
Oh, okay, alright. We're losing a lot on the battery, and that's not great, but we had to make some dangerous moves.
Weapon maximum. Firepower. Firepower extended. Battery here.
Yeah, it's really weird that I've been watching this arena and I have not seen one wall outlet that you could charge on.
Accelerate.
And that's why the batteries are so important.
Firepower extended. Battery over here. Firepower extended.
Slow that down a bit. Alright, so now we're on layer 31. I'll call out that particular wave that we get to, affectionately known as Titan Gank.
Battery up.
I'm sure the reason for that name will be very apparent. We're seeing lots of big boys.
This is what I do. Firepower extended. Accelerate. Battery over here.
Alright, so I think this is Titan Gank here.
Power extended.
Oh, no, maybe not. There's not that many yet. Oh, okay. I'm glad that wasn't Titan Gank. Because that would have been a very bad time.
Shut down. Firepower. Battery here.
Or maybe it was Titan Gank. I don't know. I always can never really quite tell.
Weapon max.
Yeah, I don't know. Here we go. Here's Titan Gank. So from here on out, we need to keep chain. Otherwise, we will not be seeing the special boss.
Battery over here.
Some sketchy dodging going on. Alright, we're through the worst of it. But we're not through the entirety of layer 31 just yet.
I'm on fire. Battery here.
Okay, so here, we made it. Here's a special boss. It's essentially Embryo in hyper mode. It's gonna be real dicey, so I'm gonna be real quiet here. And probably take a lot of coward shutdowns.
Battery here. Firepower.
Ooh, I don't know if I wanted that. Oh, that was a spicy move. Ooh. That was real spicy and questionable. This is the phase that always kind of gets me, though, these rapidly expanding patterns. That was pretty solid. Pretty solid. I'm going to take the coward shutdown because I don't want to deal with this final phase. So bye-bye, Dark Embryo. And now we're getting into the kind of real serious part. Almost. But we gotta stop messing around and start playing good.
Wait, you were messing around before?
Yes, I was. And I just messed around a bit there. Whoops. Ah, and great. Conveyor belts and doggos is a bad combo.
Firepower. Battery here.
Lost chain there for not really any good reason. Oh, wow, what a snipe. Got through that entire crowd. Alright, might need to start dipping into our power-ups a little bit early. That makes me worried, because I really want to keep as much as we can until layer 40, but if we don't make it to layer 40, those will all go to waste anyways. Hear that battery pop. Just kind of scooped it right up.
Accelerate extended. Firepower extended. Battery up. I'm a rocket. Firepower extended.
Oh my goodness, into the laser. That was my fault.
Firepower extended. Weapon maximum. Accelerate extended. Firepower extended. Shutdown. Battery up. Accelerate extended. Firepower extended. Bring 'em on. Battery here. Firepower extended. I'm rocking. Battery over here. Accelerate.
Ah, shoot. It's a bad down to take. Oh, or bad downs to take, really, from this point on. The down we take kills our momentum pretty good.
Firepower extended. Shutdown. Accelerate. Battery up. Weapon max. Firepower extended. Accelerate extended. Accelerate extended. Firepower extended.
I lost chain there.
Firepower extended.
Too many big boys jumping in my way.
Accelerate extended. Battery over here. Firepower extended. Firepower extended. Accelerate extended. Battery here. Shutdown. Firepower extended. Firepower extended. Accelerate extended. I'm unstoppable. Battery up. Accelerate extended. Firepower extended. Accelerate extended. Battery over here. Shutdown. Firepower extended. Accelerate extended. No stopping me now. Battery here. Firepower. Firepower extended. I'm a rocket. Firepower extended. Firepower extended. Battery over here. Accelerate. Firepower extended. Accelerate. Battery up. Firepower extended. Accelerate. Battery here. Firepower. I'm unstoppable. Firepower extended.
Oh, that was a real bad down to take.
Firepower. Firepower extended. Battery up. Shutdown. Accelerate.
stretch, layer 40. Here's where the power-up storage really comes into play. Pretty much grabbing every blue I can find, trying to maintain firepower, as well as keeping Accelerate going so we've got some backups.
Accelerate extended. Shutdown. Battery here. Shutdown. Firepower extended. Firepower extended.
Oh, I lost chain there, and I took it down. That's probably going to be the end of it. Unless I get an incredibly lucky pity battery. Please come to me, thank you. Now I'm going to be deep in battery debt, so this is not looking great.
Firepower extended.
I lost chain there again, too.
Battery here. Firepower extended. Shutdown. Accelerate. Shutdown. Battery up. No stopping me now. Firepower extended. Accelerate. Shutdown. Accelerate extended. Firepower extended. Battery over here. Shutdown. Shutdown. I'm unstoppable. Shutdown. Firepower extended. Firepower extended. Battery here. Accelerate.
I really want to keep the Accelerate more for the battery grab range than anything else.
Shutdown.
And I suppose some of the damage
Firepower
mitigation.
extended. Firepower extended. Battery up. Shutdown.
Real lucky that that dude didn't get caught behind the wall that time.
Firepower extended. Accelerate extended. I'm unstoppable. Firepower extended. Shutdown. Firepower extended. Shutdown. Battery here. Firepower extended. Accelerate extended. Shutdown. Bring 'em on. Firepower extended. Accelerate extended. Shutdown. Shutdown. Battery up. Firepower extended. Accelerate extended. Shutdown. Firepower extended. Shutdown. Battery here. Accelerate extended. Accelerate extended. Firepower extended. Firepower extended. Battery over here. Accelerate extended. Firepower extended.
Oh my goodness.
Are you
Yo.
not
Wow.
G heckin' G.
Oh my goodness. That's incredible. I can't believe that. That's something. That is something. I don't even care that there's 20 downs there, which is really ugly, but oh man. All right. That's Infinity Drive. That's incredible.
Wow. That was impressive.
Thank you. As like as soon as I hit 40, it's like I gotta be dead silent, otherwise I'm gonna screw this up pretty good. Oh wow. I can't overstate how difficult Infinity Drive is just in general. And doing it in a marathon setting is Probably not the smartest idea on my part to submit it, but here we are. We did it. All right, that's it. That was the last Cactus run. I believe we got some block stacking coming up. The nice TGM and TGM2 exhibition by Eon and EI.
Are we doing the Serenade?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. I might need just a second to let the heart rate go down a bit. But yeah, I am singing the Game Over theme, which if I had failed this, it would have just played right away, and I probably would have just gone right into it. But yeah, we got to pull that up, huh? Totally forgot. Got so excited that I forgot. Where is this thing, by the way? There it is, jukebox. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to take a little moment to breathe. Okay, here we go. Thank you, everybody, for donating. This is what your donations have earned. Little Android, the Game Over theme to Assault Android Cactus. I'm just a little android, and my battery's running low. I'm just a little android, and I'm moving oh so slow. Whoa, whoa. I'm just a little android, and I'm laying on the floor. I'm just a little android. I wanna live again once more. Oh, 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 oh. I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my fingers. I can't feel my face. I can't feel my feelings. I'm not half the droid I used to be. I'm not half the droid I want to be. I used to feel so real. I used to feel my meaning. Now I feel surreal. Now I feel I'm fading. I'm not half the droid I used to be. I'm not half the droid I want to be. I'm just a little android, and my battery's running low. I'm just a little android, and I'm moving oh so slow. Whoa, whoa. I'm just a little android, and I'm laying on the floor. I'm just a little android. I wanna live again once more. Oh, whoa, whoa. I can't find my mind. I can't find my pain. I think I'm losing time. Do you know my name? I'm not half the droid I used to be. I'm not half the droid I want to be. I think I'm in a dream. I think I'm back on Steam. I want to do my part. You know I want to restart. I'm not half the droid I used to be. I'm not half the droid I want to be. I'm just a little android, and my battery's running low. I'm just a little android, and I'm moving oh so slow. I'm just a little android, and I'm laying on the floor. I'm just a little android. I want to live again once more. Android. 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 Thank you very much for your donations, everybody. You made that possible. Oops.
Speaking of donations, we have a $40 donation from Ron Klee saying, dollar per down times 2 for that awesome clear. From a missed battery on 21 to an easy clear. Congrats, Mr. Bond.
Thank you, Ron Klee. Hey. All right. Now I'm not forgetting any other donation incentives. I think it's time for some block stacking.
All right. We will get that set up and be right back as soon as possible.